we go. We are live. Excellent. Sorry about the delay. If there's anybody who is tuning in, thank you. What do we have here? Pardon me while I get my windows in order. Thank you to anybody who is tuning in today. I said there were a couple of people waiting, so either way, I just have to say thank you for joining me. If you're new here, my name is Angela, front-end developer in St. Paul, Minnesota. This is part 3. We are building a landing page. I did not get my Photoshop file pulled up. I'll do that right now. This is part 3, although I don't know if we really need our Photoshop file. I have a landing page that I've had for years, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to go ahead and build this? And my plan for today was to finish this navigation. How do you hide and show? I can't remember. No. I don't remember the keyboard shortcut to show and hide. Let's see here. I don't remember. My plan for today was to make this navigation responsive. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to stop recording because it is stressing out my computer. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Here is our code. I'll go ahead and start the server. And last week we finished building out the desktop version of this. It's really not responsive yet. So yeah, my goal for today is to just make this navigation responsive. Now, I built this pretty much to look like the wireframe, which included having this hamburger menu on the desktop version. I don't think it needs to be on the desktop version. I included it for the sake of just getting the mock-up built out. But really, this is going to be hidden until we go into mobile. So the idea is, and I'm sure we've all seen this, this won't be a new concept at all. The idea is the hamburger menu will be hidden on desktop, and then once we get to mobile, the hamburger menu will appear and the visible menu will not be displayed, and when we click the hamburger menu we have a drawer that will come out. So let's go ahead and start working on that. And my approach to this type of navigation is that we do as much as we can with CSS. We will write a little bit of JavaScript. We'll write a click event for the JavaScript. So on mobile and on click for hitting that hamburger menu, we'll see a drawer slide out, and I am not sharing my screen. My gosh. So sorry about that. So the idea, I'm going to start from the beginning. I apologize for anybody who is watching and did not actually see what I was talking about because I wasn't sharing my screen. This is week 3 of live streaming, and I'm definitely working out all the kinks. So to back up, I think we all know that a normal mobile experience is that a hamburger menu isn't generally on desktop. Now, if we had something that we wanted to show off screen, we could certainly do it. So what we're going to do is this hamburger menu will not be on desktop. Once we get down to a mobile view, the hamburger menu will appear, the visible menu will not appear, and when we click on the hamburger menu, a drawer will come out and we'll see that navigation. So that's what we're going to go ahead and work on. So let's get in. So this right here, the nav with a class of navigation, and then we have a button with a class of icon. We're going to go ahead and add some extra classes here so we can distinguish between the button search icon and the button menu icon. So let's pull up our markup. And I'm going to add an extra class here that says menu, and I'll add an extra class here that says search, so I can distinguish between the two. And I'll say it again because I hadn't been sharing my screen. We want to do as much as we can with CSS. So we will use a little bit of JavaScript that has a click event, meaning that when we click on the hamburger menu, that's going to add an active class to what I generally call a drawer. And the drawer in this case will be this navigation container. I don't think we need to add another div around that. I think we can do everything that we need to do just with this nav. And then we have our UL with our LI. And really, mobile styles are the difference between desktop and a mobile view is really that you start one way and you reverse engineer for the other way. So whether you have a mobile first approach or a desktop first approach, each approach, however you start, the other way is just a reverse engineered way of displaying it. So I think, 10 years ago when I started doing this, everybody talked about mobile first, and I still don't know what they mean. I mean, I know what they mean, but I've never personally been given a mock-up that has, for a website that only had a mobile version. Most of the time I'm given mock-ups for a desktop version, and it's my job as the front-end developer to decide how that's going to look on a mobile device. I have never been given a mobile device only version of something and then been told to figure out how to make it look on a desktop version. It's very rare, but it does sometimes happen that I get a desktop version and a mobile version. Most of the time, if I get a mobile version, in addition to a desktop version, it's because there is something very specific that they want in that mobile version. Not that they feel like they have to lay out the mobile version for me, but that there is one or two specific elements that they feel like they want me to know about that. And I appreciate that because I want to give the designers or the product owners what they want. So in this case though, all of even 10 years ago when everybody was talking mobile first, even then, anytime I went out and I bought mock-ups for web design, they almost never come with a mobile version. So I think saying things like mobile first this is my way of saying that if you hear a big emphasis on mobile first, ask people to clarify what exactly they mean, because when it comes right down to it, most people can't really tell you what they mean unless they're giving you some sort of marketing language to back that up. And really all it means is that your CSS could be written for a mobile first view, which you have to literally reverse engineer for a desktop view. That's really all it means. This is what I've figured out after 10 years of doing this. So, okay, I digress. That was a bit of a tangent. I have lots of tangents. I have lots of opinions. I have lots of strong opinions. So let's start. The first thing we need to do is make sure that the correct thing is shown on desktop and the correct thing is shown on a mobile device before we do any styling. So right now, the navigation and the hamburger menu both appear on mobile and on desktop. So let's make a decision about what appears when, and let's decide what the window size is going to be. So I have two approaches, and again, it's really driven by the design, which is at 1024. You can see up here in the corner when I move the dev tools, 1024 pixels is the landscape view of an iPad. So here's my iPad. It is the landscape view of an iPad. Then we have another common size is 768. There's 767. 767 is the portrait view of an iPad. Most desktop websites will look fine on the landscape view of an iPad. Most will. So what I've gotten into the habit of doing the last couple of years is I do everything at 960. So I don't wait till we're all the way down to 768. I don't generally pop into mobile at 1024. 960, it turns out, there's about 961. This is about the size where I say, yes, let's initiate our mobile styles. So all of the media queries that I write are going to be for 960. And again, this is a desktop first view, and I'm calling it desktop first because we had a desktop mockup, and all of the current CSS is written for a desktop size browser window, and all of the remaining CSS that we write will be for a mobile view, which is essentially being written second. So I don't know. I probably shouldn't belabor this point. It's just something that I think about. So, okay, so 960 is going to be our media query size. Let's go find here's our navigation. So we're going to say at media max width 960 pixels. And we're going to say, so we're basically saying after 960, we want it to be display none. I hope I have this right. I think I have this right. But on mobile, we want it to be display block. I think I have that right. There we go. So desktop, we see navigation. Mobile, we don't see the navigation. And I'm thinking. Next, what we're going to do is, I'm thinking about my approach here. So next, if we add an active class, meaning that on click we're going to add an active class to the navigation, we would do this here. So we would say, well, actually, we can't really do that. I keep forgetting we're in vanilla CSS, so I'm not sure this type of nesting is going to work. I have to remember the nesting rules. Navigation dot active. We're going to say at media max width 960 pixels, display block. And you know what? I'm going to take me out because I think last week I was blocking some of the CSS. So if you caught that video, I apologize for that. Okay, so now we have what we're going to do eventually is write a click event that when we click on the hamburger menu, it adds an active class and it changes it from display none on mobile to display active on mobile. Or display block on mobile. So here, we can do this right in the browser. So if I type in active, now we can see it. And if I Command or Control Z, it removes it. Now we can see it. So that's perfect. That's what we want. Now we have to style this. So I'm going to add the active class to the markup for the purposes of styling. And then usually the last thing that I do is come back in and add that JavaScript. All right. So we're going to add it right here. So let's make sure that our inner wrap is, so our inner wrap is kind of a global class. I need this to be position relative. So I'm going to add it to anything with an inner wrap class, and if we need to make this more specific, we can. I think this is going to be okay. So we're going to say position absolute top 100 VH. You know what? What is going on here? Post CSS. Nope, just CSS. There we go. Now we can say left. There's our IntelliSense. Left 0. And oh, this is not what I want. Top 0. The width, for now, I'm just going to say 300 pixels. The height, I want to be 100 VH. That stands for vertical height, so it should take up the full height of whatever the window is. So let's see if this worked. And it did. We have to give it a background, but this looks the way we want it to. And let's see here. Why? It's got some padding, that's why. So we have 15 pixels of padding on the top and bottom. That's fine. So we'll just do top negative 15. We also want to give this a background color of white. And we'll have to change the text color. I don't even think we need this media query because the active, maybe we do. I'm not sure we even need that media query because the active won't be active. The menu will only be shown inside of its media query. So I don't think we need this. I mean, maybe you could leave it in just to be safe. I don't think we need it though. So let's control this button then. So where's our button icon? Here it is. So we want now button.menu. On desktop, this is display none. Max width 960, and then this will be display block, and then we're going to do menu. This we do want a media query. And this will be so on desktop we want display none. On mobile we want display block. Is that all we need? I also need the button to have an active class. Okay, I think I'm not going to worry about this right now. Eventually, I think that button is also going to need an active class, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. All right, we'll come back to that. For now, though, we'll be able to see this. There. Active, not active. This should be, oh yeah, it's inside of our inner wrap. So we should really make it relative to the header, not the inner wrap. So I'm going to take position relative off the header, and, or excuse me, off the inner wrap, and we're going to make it relative to the header. Anytime you use absolute positioning, it's always relative to the parent container's positioning, and it doesn't have to be the immediate parent container. So here's the nav, here's where I originally put it, but because the inner wrap is only has a max width of 75 rems, although maybe it wouldn't matter because we're switching into mobile at 960 and 75 rems is 1200. I'm still going to put it on the header. So we're still going to put this on the header. I think that makes me feel better, mathematically speaking. So we need to make sure also that this has a z-index. A z-index controls the stacking order. So there we go. So the z-index is 1, which puts it above the other items on the page. And I think we could also put in like a little background shadow. Let's see here. So if we do 0, 0, 0, 0, and then we want RGBA, which would be, what is it? 0, 0, 0, 0.2. Does that work? No. I can't remember if it's, is it 255? Okay, it'll tell us if we just go ahead and do it. What is it? Box shadow. That's why it says it doesn't work. Oh, and we have to add that z-index. And I put in zeros because I generally come to the browser and do this. There we go. You can see it's kicking in there. So let's look at the box shadow because I don't remember clearly what each of those values is. So you can set box shadow X and Y, blur and spread. So we have X, hang on. So we have X and we have Y, and then we have a blur and a spread. So I want we'll give everything a pixel to start with. There we go. Honestly, I think that could be 0. Yeah, that works. I think 1 is good. And then I'm going to tone down this RGB a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. I'm in favor of subtle. So we have 1 pixel, 0, 2. So we have 1 pixel for the x-axis, 0 for the y, 2 pixels for the blur, 1 pixel for the spread. So 0, 1, 0, 2, 1. 1 pixel, 0, 2, 1. And I think I pop this down to 10%. There we go. I like it. And I think we have to do, since we did a top negative 15 pixels to account for that padding, I'm going to do a calculated height to make up for that. Go away, IntelliSense. So we'll do calc plus, whoops, plus 15 pixels. So it reaches all the way to the bottom. And there we go. So now we are at the top and the bottom. I mean, we could almost put, no, I think it's fine to just have position relative on the header. I don't want that kind of positioning to be too aggressive. I want it to be specific, but not too specific. So I'm happy with this. Okay, so now let's actually get our menu items lining up correctly. So I'm thinking, so first let's change the color for mobile. So we'll say at media, max width, 960 pixels. The color is, instead of white, it will be our dark gray color. Where are you? There we go. Now we want to add I do want to give it a good amount of margin. I think I want it to have, take me out so I don't accidentally cover up. I think I want it to have, I'm going to start with 5. What's 5 times 16? A rem is 16 pixels, so 5 times 16 is 80. So we'll start with, I'm going to start with 4 rems on top, 0 on the left and right, and 0 on the bottom. I just want to get this pushed down. I'm good with that. And then I think we just need to make, right now they're display list item, but I think we want these to be display block. We want them to be aligned. I think we're using flex box. Okay, so we're gonna have to change the flex flow. Probably if we just say, if we change this to column. Oh, hang on. Yeah, we can just change these to column and we can realign the items. So that is what we will do. So we added our margin. Now we'll say flex flow column wrap, that's fine. And then align items. I think flex start. Yes, that works. And now I think we should give, we want to put margin, well, really, we could put a little bit of margin here. We could put a little bit of margin here just to space them out. So say navigation li at media max width 960 pixels, and really I just want to give this some margin on the top and bottom, maybe I don't know, 10 pixels on the top and, well, maybe 10 pixels all the way around to push it in off the sides. Yeah. And then that's a lot. That's a lot. Let's do 5 pixels on the top and bottom, 10 on the sides. And then we'll go ahead and give the hrefs we can make these display block. We'll go ahead and give these some padding of, let's start with 10 pixels and see how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks good. So when we look at it here, we really want to make sure that we've got enough room for a finger. We want to make sure that we have enough room for a finger to actually tap that target, which technically is supposed to be 48. 48 by 48 is a accessible tap target, 44.75. So let's give it a little more padding on the top and bottom. Let's see what happens with 12, if that's enough. 48.75, well, that includes margin. 48.75. So I'm good with that. We want to make sure that we have a big enough tap target for when you're on a mobile device to like have enough room to tap that. I like to put margin on the LI because I don't want, if we look at the mouse here, I want there to be some room in between the links that isn't tappable. Yes, we could just make them all but right up next to each other, but in order, the point of having a tap target is that first of all, your finger has enough room to hit the link, but I don't want your finger to accidentally hit the other link. There needs to be some room, some delineation between the two links. So I'm good with that. I think that looks good. Pushes it out from the side a little bit so it's not right up against there. We've got room up here. Yeah, I like that. So now let's see how it looks. So if I go back out, now it's 1175, so it's bigger than mobile. We'll take that out. And we removed that icon, so we're gonna have, although I don't know. I mean, I was thinking if we take that icon out, that menu icon out on desktop, I knew it would affect the layout, but maybe that's okay to have our navigation be first up against the left-hand side and have our search icon be over on the far right. I mean, I might be okay with that. But let's just see here. So there's our menu item, and then I'm going to Command Z for our active. So that's what that looks like. Yeah, I like that. I think what we might want to do, well, let's go ahead and get our JavaScript working. Let's go ahead and get our JavaScript working. Let's see also how this looks. I mean, I'm fine with this. I guess I'm not sure. I mean, I did kind of like it centered, but I think it's okay. We could find maybe another icon to stick over on the left. I'm not sure what that would be. Let's go ahead and write a little bit of JavaScript. We literally just need something that says add this class when you click the icon. And this is something I've done dozens of times. I don't think I've done it from memory anytime recently. Let's see here. This is a WordPress theme. It's not what I want. Nope. All right, here we go. This is interesting. This is back in the days when I used jQuery for everything. When was this? 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And this is all CSS. All right, well, I know I've got this in my GitHub someplace. So we're doing it from memory. I'm up for the challenge. Let's see here. Main.js. And so anytime we write JavaScript, we want to make sure that we're initialing goes here. So anytime you're writing JavaScript, the way I do it is I write functions and then I initialize it inside of an event listener that checks to make sure that the DOM content has loaded. So we'll say function, click menu, and then that will get initialized here. Okay, so I'm going to say const icon equals document query selector, and it's literally a class of menu. So menu. And we want to define the actual menu, or I guess we could call it navigation. We'll just call it nav equals document query selector dot navigation. And I guess that's it, because so what I want to do is I want to add an active class to nav, and I'm going to add an active class to button as well, because we need a way to close the drawer. So if you click it to open it, you have to click it to close it. And the way you do that is by checking to see if the active class is on the button. If the active class is on the button, that's how we know it's open. So you have to click it again to remove the class. So I think all we need are these two classes. So I'm going to say icon, add event listener, click. And I think we're going to need an event. I usually cheat and I go back and I look at other scripts that I've written, but I'm not sure where in my GitHub it is. So I'm doing it from memory. Icon, add event listener, click. So we're going to say if nav if nav I'm going to find it because I can't remember. Let's see here. Maybe this is it. Yeah, this is it. So here it is. We have, so we're going to check the target to see if it's clicked. Yeah, I have to cheat because here's the thing. I don't remember everything. I just don't. Well, I guess we can put this in here. I just don't remember everything. That's why I have a GitHub. That's why I version control. You don't have to remember everything. You just don't. So we're going to say this a little bigger. So we'll say clicked equals the event target class list contains, and we're checking to see if this contains a class called active. So this is a Boolean value. Anytime you use contains, you're checking to see if it's either true or false. The target, the thing you just clicked on, either has active or it doesn't. Then we're going to say if clicked, we want, if it's clicked, we want to remove it. If it's not, then we want to add it. So we're going to say icon class list icon class list remove active nav class list remove active, else icon class list add active, nav class list add active. That's really all we should need in order to trigger that navigation. The other thing we need though is we need to make sure, well, let's take active out of our markup. Right there. The other thing we need to do is we need to make sure that when we're in mobile, we can actually see. We can actually see this, but let's see if it works. Yeah, that works. So we can't close it though because it's not appearing, the drawer is over top. So I think we can fix that. Let's go back to our styles and our button icon. So we know that our button menu is display block. We want to make sure, let's check our markup so we can see our actual class in there. So there's our active classes. So when the button menu is active, I'm going to say button dot menu dot active. And it's only active on mobile, so I'm not going to write a media query. But we need to make sure that this is I think we can do position relative. Z index, I don't know if 1 is gonna be enough. And then we also need to make sure that the menu active SVG has a different stroke color. So we'll do this again. I think we could just do though menu active SVG work? I mean, it's there. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it over top. Yeah. I guess we could, I mean, we could this needs to be 1. We should be able to put this over top of the navigation. We should be able to. We don't actually want, no, it's only on the active. Okay, so we can see it, but maybe I just have the stroke wrong. Is that it? Yes, it's in the markup, that's why. Oh, I guess I do remember doing that. So, our stroke is getting precedent. I think I can just take this out of the markup so it's controlled by the CSS. Let's see if that works. So we are not able to control that path. All right, well, let's just go ahead and make this display block. We know from last week that they are inline by default. And I guess I will give this still a stroke of dark gray. Oh, I think I need to put these things on the button, not on the SVG. There we go. I knew I was losing my mind. You know, this is really one of the reasons that I wanted to do these live streams. It's just that sometimes, I mean, I wanted to bring myself back to basics as well. So why is our click event not working to close the menu? There, it's because of the padding. Okay, so when I get my cursor into the padding, so that means that we need to do, on the SVG, we need to say pointer events none. And the reason for that is because even though the cursor is hover on button, the part of the button, you see that green there? When I can get my cursor into the green part, it activates the button or the trigger, but once my cursor is over the actual SVG, that's what it's clicking on. So by adding pointer events none to the SVG, now the only thing I'm going to activate is the button. There. Good. Okay, so now let's also make sure that we have cursor pointer on. I'm actually just going to move it up, put it on everything. I thought I was losing my mind here for a minute, which, you know, I don't really want to do on a live stream. But this is just a normal part of the development process right here. So let's, so this is 35 by 35. Should have a slightly bigger tap target than that. And it's pretty small, so let's just make it bigger. So our button.icon is 35 by 35 right here. Let's make it 48. So that's going to make both of our icons bigger. I'm fine with that. And then we're just going to want to reposition our button a little bit for mobile. It's popped all the way up to the top there. So maybe, I don't know, 5 pixels to move. There we go. That looks pretty good. I think we want this to be 10. Yeah. I'm good. I'm fine with that. So now we can open and close. I mean, it's clearly not perfectly aligned. And I noticed this is disappearing. Oh, we're probably changing menu active SVG. And we're not adding. Oh, this is moving off to the side, that's why. Okay, so because I took this out of the flow with position absolute, so do we need absolute or can I get away with relative? I can get away with relative. That will keep it in the flow, and it also, I think we can go back to doing 0, 0. So now it's got the same alignment. That's good. Okay, and then we we can push this down. I'm going to push this down a little bit. So I'm going to do that though by adjusting this margin. So let's, instead of 4 rems, let's do 5. All right, let's go back here. So I'm going to make that position relative. I'm going to do top left 0, so it should get the same. So it stays in the same place. I want to move this, but it's not letting me change the amount of margin that I have. I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that I changed this to a column. All right, let's refresh. There we go. I don't know why, I had some issues with the browser. Not letting me change it here. If I change the margin top, we'll say 6 rems. So we can change it here. It's not letting me change it here. Oh, you know what we do need to do? We need to add the media query for this. Yeah, we do need to do that. I should know better. At media. Max width, 960 pixels. This is it. This is real life being a developer. There we go. Real life being a developer. That's probably... I still don't know why it's not letting me change this in the browser. So if it's open, we have 5 rems on top. I don't know why it's not letting me change it in the browser. Maybe because it doesn't have an active class. That's probably why. Yeah, that's probably why. So I don't know why that would matter. So I'll say navigation active UL. We'll add that there. It still doesn't want me to change it. And I don't know why that would matter anyways. All right, well, I'm not going to worry about it. So here, if we go back and forth from desktop to mobile, we can open and close. And I think that I'm just going to smudge this over a little bit, this button. I think 5 pixels to the left. That get it lined up. Yeah, 10. So button menu active. I'm going to say 10 pixels to the left. Just because, and really it should just be that by default, shouldn't it? So let's take this out where, so here's our header inner wrap, which says justify content space between. So I think for the header inner wrap, we're just going to want to add some extra padding to pull it in an extra 15 pixels on the left and right, which I'm completely fine with. So we want the header dot inner wrap padding, none on the top and bottom. I'll just say 15 pixels on the left and right, and that should just push it in a little bit. Okay, so why header dot inner wrap? Oh. There we go. You can see that popped in a little bit. So now, if we open and close it, yeah, I like that. So our button is 48 by 48, our menu button. Our search icon is 48 by 48. Love that. And when we click this, it opens and closes the menu for mobile. So next, let's give this a little bit of a transition so it's not just like popping in and out. And I'm gonna take me out so I don't accidentally write CSS underneath myself that you can't see. Okay. Really, the last thing I want to do with this, is just add a little bit of a transition or an animation so it's a little smoother when it pops in and out. So I think that we want to do that on the navigation. So, so instead of display none and display block, it's actually going to be yeah, instead of display none and display block, we're actually going to literally move it off screen. So the navigation active is position absolute, and I'm going to take out this display none so you can see. So here it is. Oh, hang on. I mean display block. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to take out the display none and the display block. So here's the navigation if it's not being hidden. And it doesn't have an active. If I go ahead and hit active, now it gets put into its correct position. So we have some refining to do. We have a little bit of refining to do, because we really want the active class to do that slide transition, and we want the desktop versus the mobile to handle everything else. So I'm not going to worry about display none or display block. Instead, for desktop, we're going to say position static, which is the default positioning. And then for mobile, we're going to say position absolute. So we don't need to have this in here anymore. And we're not worrying about display block or display none. And it's going to be top minus 15 pixels to account for that padding. So we don't need that on the active. What we do want for mobile is we want since it's 300 pixels wide, we want the left to be minus 300 pixels. And then we want the active to be 300 pixels. That's going to be our slide. And then everything else is going to go here. So this is literally the difference between mobile and desktop, and this is what actually happens when the active class is enabled. Oh, hang on, didn't mean to do that. So we'll take this out, and then we're going to put a transition here. And we're going to say the transition is for the left property, 300 milliseconds, and I usually do ease in out. So we'll see if that works. There. Love that. So now I don't think we need to worry about display none or display block, because instead of we're using our positioning and we're hiding it off screen. So we have our active classes removed. We should be able to go back and forth between mobile and desktop. And then if our navigation happens to be, and we're probably going to say width 300 pixels, we should say max width 100%, so it's never bigger than 300 pixels if our screen or our browser window or our mobile device is less than 300 pixels. but we can still go back and forth like that without a problem, even if our active class is still there. Yeah, that works. I like it. That works. So now let's do something, you know, I find myself having to remind the non-developers in my life that on a mobile device, you don't hover, you tap. So anytime somebody is checking mobile or responsive functionality in the browser on a desktop or laptop, a lot of times they don't like the behavior that they see because of the mouse. And so we have to remind them, you don't hover on a desktop, or excuse me, you don't hover on a mobile device, you tap on a mobile device. That doesn't mean that we can't still have an active class in addition to a hover class. So let's look at our navigation. And we want these LIs to be display block because we want them to take up the full width. So we're going to do, our LIs are going to be, I don't want them to be display block on desktop. So we're going to say display, I think it's what, list item. And then on mobile, we're going to say display block. And we are probably going to have to say width 100%. There we go. And we definitely have some overflow, which is annoying. So I think what are they by default? Isn't it list item? Is the display for default? Yeah, it's list item. I don't think they should have that overflow. Especially since we have, oh, do I not have box sizing? Box sizing, border box. On my HTML element, yes. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to restart live server because I just feel like something strange is happening. I don't know why the browser is not letting me change things in the browser. You don't need this. There we go. There we go. need the display none or the display block. It's not letting me change anything in the browser. I don't know why. Oh, probably because no, my positioning is left 0. This doesn't have any unusual positioning. This is fine. This is pushed over though. I mean, why does that matter if it's box sizing border box? I don't know why. So our LI, so I'm going to take out there we go. I don't know why that matters if it's box sizing border box. It shouldn't matter. It should still be within its container. So I'm just going to add padding. So we've got 12 pixels on the top and bottom, and then I'm going to add another, I guess, 10. Well, so 10, 15, 12 plus 15 is 27. 27. 27 on the left and right. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that, but I don't know. The math isn't mathing for me on this one. And I'm not sure why it's not letting me change anything in the browser. Yeah. I don't know. But listen, I did what I came to do today. This is exactly what I wanted to get done today with this. I wanted to this is exactly what I wanted to do today with this. Although, I am kind of thinking, I'm going to think about it overnight what I want to do. If I want I started this by saying that I wanted on the, there's no hover on a mobile device. You tap on a mobile device, but you can still have an active, it's an active pseudo class. So when you do that tap, you can change the background color. You can add an underline or a border to the word that you're tapping on, the link you're tapping on. I'll think about whether or not I want to do that, and maybe we'll go ahead and do that tomorrow. The thing that I really want to do tomorrow is I want to do something similar with the search icon. Now, this is a totally static website, so there isn't actually going to be any search functionality, but I want to do something similar in terms of creating a drawer or maybe a modal type pop-up with an input, a search input, and a submit button. So that's what we're going to work on tomorrow. And then I think we'll see how much we get done tomorrow. I think next week I'll start doing the remaining responsive styles. And I haven't forgotten about the Instagram feed. I do want to put in the Instagram API. So I think that we will work on that also in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if we'll get to it next weekend. But yeah, I do. The more I think about this, the more I really want to put in an Instagram feed down there and grab the Instagram API, because it's something I haven't done in a really, really long time. So if you sat all the way through this, thank you. I appreciate it. I do this because I've been a front-end developer for 10 years. I do have a software engineering degree. I just got the software engineering degree, but I'm really a self-taught developer. I love HTML. I love CSS. I've learned to love JavaScript over the last couple of years. JavaScript was really the hardest thing for me to learn, but I've gotten so much better at it over the last couple of years. And I just love being a front-end developer, and I love sharing my knowledge with other people. That's why I decided to start this channel and to start doing this, and to just start grabbing these wireframes that I've had for years in my collection and just start building them. And if somebody wants to watch me build them and you think you can get anything from them, that would just be amazing to me. If you have questions about why I did something, leave me a comment. I'm happy to answer any questions that I have. And thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Take care.